Hey everybody, back again to look at 5 recent CD buys, and we're going to get started right away. This is Tower of Famine, the second and most recent full-length album by Bauwezo with Styges. Total blind buy for me. It was on Profound Lore Records, Swedish black metal, and an interesting band name and presentation. And I am under the impression that this is the musician behind this band has several projects, all delivering slightly varied flavors of black metal. And this project here seems to be focused on the DSBM side of things, which isn't really my thing. Yes, I like Leviathan and Old Burzum and things like that, but I think bands like them stand above genre. And I'd say this is respectable quality metal. I like it when I listen to it, but it does just wash over me. I don't think the songs really come together. If I had to pick a highlight, I'd say track 8, Drown in Black Blood. It's just not something I see myself breaking out very often. Can't win them all. Very happy to finally have a copy of Slaughterson, Crown of the Triarchy by Dawn. This came out in 1998, and the band has never broken up. But in the 26 years since this album was released and the current day, they have not put out any new music. They say they're working on stuff, it just never materializes. And again, in 1998, it was put out on Necropolis. And I would love to have a copy of the original, but it's out of print. Hard to find, and if you do find it, it's definitely going to cost you a little bit of money for sure. This is a 2014 reissue on Century Media. So this is an undisputed classic, but a strange album that I've been trying to wrap my head around for almost 20 years, despite just getting the CD more recently. I always had the CDR of it. Every couple years I would listen to it, and my comments would reflect the popular sentiment about this, which is that when you listen to it, it's so impressive, but when it's over, you kind of forget what happened. On the surface, very intense, yet melodic black metal, but just under the surface, it just feels so dense, detailed, and well thought out. And when I say it's not memorable, that's not an insult at all. It's what gives it its enduring quality. It's almost impossible to get bored of, keep discovering new things, and remains a classic of extreme metal. The vocals, especially for the time period, extremely harsh. The guitar, just unrelenting metallic storm. And the drums, just really tasteful, interesting, intricate playing. Hard to pick favorites, but if I had to pick just two, we're going to go with Falcula and the epic closer, Malediction Murder. This next album here is going to have some parallels with Dawn, but we'll get to that in a minute. This is Welcome My Last Chapter by Vinterland. Both of these albums are kind of pigeonholed in the dissection, sacramentum, again, a slightly death metal influenced, highly melodic Swedish black metal, mid to late 90s, maybe second tier in terms of popularity in that style. But they're also very different. I'd say Dawn is very tightly wound and negative, whereas Vinterland is much more memorable, epic, and triumphant. But this album, again, was put out in 1996, and it was their one and only album. And the people involved would go on to some other projects, but nothing that really stuck out to me. I mentioned in a prior video, a couple times actually, that I visited Sweden a couple years ago, and that album was on my phone the whole time, and it was just perfect for taking my evening walks by the sea every night. Just perfect for it. The guitars are the highlight here. It's just masters of amazing melodies with the slower epic headbanging riffs going on in the background at the same time. It's just about a perfect album, but if I had to pick two favorites, we're going to go with A Castle So Crystal Clear and the closer, Wings of Sorrow. Gonna move over to Finland here with Amon Gander by Satanic Warmaster. Definitely one of the heavyweights of modern underground black metal. They were formed in 1998 in Finland, and they have an extremely long discography, but this is only their sixth full-length album, which came out in 2022 on Werewolf Records. So, pure black metal with really nasty upfront vocals and killer riff after killer riff, which has always been the band's bread and butter. Despite being one of the biggest names in Finnish black metal and one of the most influential on the Finnish sound, when listening to this, I can't help but hear a more modernized version of the Norwegian classics like Darkthrone and especially Old Emperor and Old Burzum. I think the first two tracks on here, Baphomet and Duke's Ride, those are fan favorites, but I'm inclined to agree. I think those are the two favorite tracks on here. And my only complaint is the sporadic use of keyboards. There's times where I think it adds a lot, and there's some times where I think it detracts from the song. And finally, we're gonna close off with an old school Canadian classic. This is Torment and Fire by Sacrifice. This album was originally released in 1986, but this is a 2022 reissue on Shadow Kingdom. So Sacrifice were from Scarborough, Ontario, which is basically a part of Toronto, and the same place where I spent many of my, the majority of my preteen years. And yes, they are a thrash band, but definitely a more old school, aggressive, nasty form of thrash. Definitely closer to a Creator than a Metallica. My three favorite tracks on here have got to be Burned at the Stake, Homicidal Breath, and Turn in Your Grave. Can't say I've exposed myself to much beyond the first couple Sacrifice albums, but they are still active, and they are from my neck of the woods, so I think it's very probable that I will get to check them out live one day. And that's it for today. Thanks for watching.